I love the show that we have today.
I know.
Love it. I can almost promise you that it's going to change lives.
My name is Jenny, and I'm a wife and mom raising 2 kids. But I used to live a more glamorous life as a TV reporter. I was on the nightly news interviewing pop stars and politicians. So when I said goodbye to TV and hello to motherhood, I suddenly discovered what we moms are up against. We live in a world that tells us to be rich and famous, thin and successful. You know, almost nobody says, "Oh, hey, you're a mom? That is fabulous." But you are fabulous, and I'm here to tell you why.
It's the Channel Mom Show with Jenny Dean Schmidt. We're here for you.
Brought to you by the Healthy Marriage Project. Just click on one of their ads to find out about a healthy relationship workshop near you.
I think I've stated enough how excited I am to have our guest on the show today. As I said, he is a rock star to me and to a number of people. He's just a bit famous for all of the right reasons, and he is the author of a book that has sold over 1.3 million copies and has helped save thousands of marriages. He's the author of Love and Respect, the leader of Love and Respect Ministries, Dr. Emerson Eggerich, on the show today. Welcome back to the Channel Mom Show, Dr. Eggerich.
Well, thank you. You are very kind. I'm humbled by your comments, but it's a joy to be back with you, and I just think you need more enthusiasm. I can give you that as a suggestion. It might help the program.
I know, I'm a little down and quiet. And
She's not caffeinated
shy.
either.
Yeah. And guess what? I don't drink caffeine. Can you imagine me on caffeine? All right. Why don't you just briefly say, Dr. Eggerich, what your approach is, what you discovered in research makes a monumental difference in marriage, and how men and women relate differently, and how this really is the key to getting marriages back on track.
Well, the University of Washington studied 2,000 couples for 20 years, and they said we now know the 2 key ingredients for successful marriages, and when those are not present, the marriage tends to fail and struggles. And they said it's love and respect. And though we all need love and respect, they show that there are gender differences. For instance, 85% of those who stonewall and withdraw during a marital partner conflict is the male, and that most women move toward the man to criticize and complain. That's how the researchers observed it. And my position is that she's seeking to do the loving thing, only to be interpreted as disrespectful. He seeks to do the honorable thing, to calm himself down, only to be interpreted as unloving. And then we've tried to test that out. We've asked 7,000 people this question: when you're in a conflict with your spouse or significant other, do you feel unloved at that moment or disrespected? And 83% of the men during that moment say they feel disrespected, whereas 72% of the women say they feel unloved. So we've discovered this gender difference, and though there are exceptions always, my mother, for instance, withdrew, but there's usually a reason a woman disconnects at the level of intimacy, because it's not within her nature to disconnect permanently. She wants to connect.
Yeah.
Usually fear governs that decision, whereas a lot of times men will disconnect because of honorable reasons. They're trying to calm down due to the fact that their heartbeats can get to 99 beats per minute quicker than hers can. He doesn't appear out of control emotionally, where she does appear to be out of control emotionally, where the truth is she isn't and he really is, and so he has to calm himself down.
And so he withdraws.
Yeah.
And women don't get that, but there really is this scientific reason that he's doing that. He doesn't want to act out, and so he's withdrawing.
That's right. To him, this is not worth fighting over, and he perceives it as her picking a fight when that's not her intent whatsoever, but that's how he filters it, because no one talks to him this way, and if anyone does, they are picking a fight with him. So it's difficult for him to discern what her true intention is. But nonetheless, he withdraws not because he didn't love her, because he'd die for her, literally, if someone came in to try to take her life. But during these emotional conflicts, he's trying to de-escalate what he perceives to be no big deal, and he doesn't have the same emotional trauma that she has by that disconnect. She is just upset to no end because it hurts her so deeply.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, we saw then a love and respect correlation, that when she feels unloved, she tends to react in a way that feels disrespectful to him. And when he feels disrespected, he tends to react in a way that feels unloving to her. That stonewalling, withdrawing, feels unloving to a woman, though he's trying to do the respectful thing on the heels of being disrespected from his perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And she moves toward him to connect, trying to do the loving thing because she felt unloved in the first place, only to hear that she's disrespectful.
Yeah.
And so now you have two good-willed people who are totally confused. And that crazy cycle is without love, she reacts without respect he reacts without love, she reacts with respect, and it spins out of control. And though women need respect, if you continue to show her disrespect week after week, she'll say, you don't even love me. How can you say you love me and treat me so disrespectfully? Whereas when you treat a man disrespectfully, he doesn't land on, you don't love me. I mean, few men do because he knows women love to love. But he does say, I don't deserve this disrespect. Everybody respects me but you. And so one of the things we can talk about is why do men not feel unloved? They tend to not feel unloved unless, of course, the woman says, I don't know if I love you. And that's pretty drastic, and every woman knows she won't say that unless it's really kind of come to the end of the relationship. So during the course of the relationship, most men know their wives love them. They just don't think their wives like them. And when women get in conflict with men, they wonder if the men love them as much as they love the men, and begin to have an insecurity. Does he really care about me to the extent that I care about him? I've got him on my heart. Why doesn't he have me on his heart? You know, I thought about him all day today, but I asked him, did he think about me? And he said, well, frankly, no, I didn't.
Yeah. It's classic. I mean, it's classic. I'd like to think that I have quite a good marriage, and I've known my husband since I was 4, so we've had a lot of time to work. But when we have problems, it's exactly as you've described. I feel unloved, he feels disrespected, and then it just goes into the crazy cycle, and you want to move people from a crazy cycle to an energizing cycle. And one reason you explain it so well as you do is because people need to hear that this is what's actually going on. They think it's about money or it's about whatever, the car, and it's really about he feels disrespected, she feels unloved.
When we have issues like money that you just referenced or issues like sex, we can talk about those issues as mature adults, and we're good to go. But there come moments, and this is where we get on the crazy cycle, when the issue is no longer the issue. And when we see the spirit of our spouse deflate, she's probably feeling during this discussion on money that we said something that was very unloving about how she's managing money.
Yeah.
And now she's reacting not to the topic, but she's reacting to her perception that he's not addressing her in a loving way, and it hurts her. She's vulnerable to that. And now they're going to spin on the crazy cycle. Or if he says, can we be sexually intimate, and she rolls her eyes and says, you animal, is that all you think about, you know? And she may even be trying to be, you know, humorous with that. But his spirit deflates because it's not now about sex. It's about the contempt he feels she has toward who he is and the needs that he expresses. And so that's where couples get confused. They think if we didn't have these problems, we'd have a great relationship. No, it's how we deal with those problems that either make or break a relationship.
Yeah.
And once we get that, then we're going to probably have a good relationship because we will pull back at that last moment where we really want to light into the other person in a contemptuous or hostile way, and we pull back because we realize that's going to be our undoing if I become uncorked.
Yeah, right. Okay, in the 6 minutes we have left in this segment, I want Michelle just briefly to introduce herself to you and tell you what's on her heart. And then you can start to answer, and then we can continue on in the next segment. Go ahead. We want to welcome. So blessed to have you on the show. She's a very brave woman. She's been going through a tough time in her marriage, and she really just wanted access to you. So she's on the show today with us. So go ahead, Michelle.
Hi. Thank you, Dr. Edgers, for taking my call.
Oh, you're welcome.
So I can tell you first off, if my husband had a respect tank and I had a love tank, they would be bone dry and really brittle and probably rusted through.
Okay, sorry.
So we've been married for 9 years and together for 16. And now we have, you know, it's not just the two of us. We have a family.
You have how many kids?
We have 2 kids, 3 and 5. So my natural man says nobody would put up with this and stay this long. But my spiritual man just won't give up.
And can you explain to him what your household's like? I mean, what your communication is like, what your intimacy, I mean, as much as you're willing to share, I have a feeling there's very little there right now. You're worse than roommates.
Well, months have gone by until very recently where we've even made eye contact or physically touched. So.
Like you don't even hold hands, just nothing.
Oh, no. We don't even brush shoulders when we pass each other. in the house if we do. And it's been more peaceful that way. So
Because
when we just disengage.
Because you fight.
Because we fight. We live on the crazy cycle. We live there. So, I mean, two of my concerns and questions are, number one, I worry a lot about our kids growing up in a home that is constantly on a crazy cycle or completely disengaged. And what that, I mean, that right there is my main motivation for figuring out how to get off of it and to, bring health to our marriage, ultimately health to our family, because there's nothing more important than my kids.
For the sake of your kids. Dr. Argerich, we have about 2.5 minutes left. So could you just give Michelle a glimpse of some of the things you want to guide her through before we go to break?
Well, we have a number of levels. I mean, my dad attempted to strangle my mother to death, and so that physical abuse resulted in her separating physically for 5 years. So one of the questions we always have to ask is there physical abuse going on? And that has to be established. And if so, that's a whole different scenario.
Is there?
Other question.
No. She says no. She says there's not physical abuse.
Okay, and so then it comes down to an issue of whether or not he has basic goodwill. Though he's on the crazy cycle with you, is he a man overall that has goodwill, but he doesn't understand you, and so he's reacting to you because he thinks that you don't like him, that he's not approved by you, that you're disappointed in him, and he's locked into this image of you that he basically is never good enough. And it's difficult in a 30-second kind of thing for me to, you and I had an hour and a half, I would unpack some of these dynamics to find out what's really going on. Why is he doing what he's doing? And, of course, it would be premature for me to draw that conclusion, but one of the things that we need to ask is, why do you feel that he is probably stonewalling, negatively reacting to you? Why is he thinking you're being disrespectful when you're not? Why is he acting as though you're offending him when that's not your heart? Why is there this misunderstanding between the two of you? And those are issues. Or is there an affair going on? And if his loyalty is somewhere else, then, of course, he's going to just shut down on you. So there are many questions at this moment where I ask the person so I can better understand what, in fact, is going on.
We're going to have some time. We have a good 15 minutes in the next segment. So we'll let you engage Michelle and ask her a few questions, and maybe we can get to at least more of the bottom of it so you can give her one or two suggestions. You did a great job with that the last time we did this with Misty.